Hello, my name is Steven Loera, and I teach 7th and 8th grade Spanish language arts, 7th grade world history, and 8th grade U.S. history. I'm currently employed through Norton Space and Aeronautics Academy, K-8 charter school, and this is my first year of induction presentation. So as students walked into my class, the first thing that they noticed was a welcome sign, welcoming them to our class, not my class. Just felt it was important that students had some sense of ownership of their environment, at least within my class. I made it a point to group students or seat them in groups of 4. Just made a lot of my activities a lot easier to facilitate instead of having to move them around. They also got to know their group, and students were more strategically placed in terms of language acquisition levels. I also had my corner with my pictures that kind of help make connections with students, show them where I've traveled and places I've been to. This is the very beginning of the school year, nice and organized. This is a more recent picture. So my induction experience, I would have to say that it was extremely purpose-driven. Every time I met with my mentor, we made it a point to get work done. I always walked in with a list of questions I may have, reflections. They were driven with a purpose. They were also very enlightening. Lots of times where I was confused or didn't understand something, I had that support there. They were also extremely eye-opening. One of the biggest challenges I had was that I was taking things personally if a student didn't want to learn or they were disengaged. My mentor really helped facilitate these experiences, and overall it was extremely growth enabling. I really feel I've moved strides away from where I was at the beginning of the school year. I'm really impressed with my overall growth. So more specifically, my own mentor. I couldn't have been more blessed in where I was placed and with who I was placed. Ms. Rosas was extremely compassionate toward me, understanding that I was a first-year teacher with 4 preps, extremely patient, and honest without a fault. So if there was issues that needed to be addressed, she was clear to let me know what they were. And overall, my impression with her is that she's just she honest to goodness cares about what she does for a living, and she honest to goodness cares about her students. I have a few pictures of students collaborating together. I made it a point to facilitate rather than just teach all the time. Students worked in pairs and groups to implement GLAD strategies. At the end of units, we try to culminate it with somewhat of an interesting lesson or an interesting activity, help them remember. We also played Jeopardy a lot. They loved Jeopardy just to help with testing. Where I've grown the most, looking back at my first couple months, of teaching, I've grown the most in terms of time management. So I've worked out a system where I'm not staying at school till 5-6 p.m. And I'm not working on the weekends. I realized I needed me time, and this really has helped to alleviate potential teacher burnout. I've also developed a tool chest of strategies I can use next year. I'm not lost the day before. I'm not reading the chapter the night before as much as I was. Hopefully it's even less next year. The school has been gracious enough to provide me with GLAD training, and I've taken advantage of it in class in my lessons. It's really a way to differentiate instruction and help move forward with my students. I just have a few more pictures of engaging lessons I created that I collaborated with some of my other peers to implement. In this lesson, we're learning about the feudal system, so students were chosen to be a king and queen, and some of them were nobles, and the other students were our peasants who had to build their crops for their money. This is probably one of the lessons that they'll not soon forget. Something new I tried, GLAD strategies. I was not familiar with them. I've embraced them, and they've really allowed me to differentiate lesson planning. Really helps to connect with all students' different learning modalities. I'm making life connecting lessons as much as I can. I understand that, especially in a history setting, students can become disengaged, but by helping them make these real connections to better themselves, to better understand broader and more complex topics, the more you do that, the more that student will be engaged and the more comprehension will, I think, be attained by the student. With that, I think is student-led teaching. So we really implemented that. So there you have a picture of a student teaching the class about one of the colonies. Again, we had our debates that were always lively. We implemented gallery walks and a word wall to help students understand, being that I'm teaching in a different language than what they may be used to at home. Making these lessons come to life. So here we are reenacting the constitutional debates in Philadelphia. We worked long and hard, and we debated in a room with no air conditioner since there was no AC when our country was founded. And the student success. I had a lesson on indulgences. The idea was that I gave them a test, a fake test. It was really hard, and students were asked to pay $5 for a guaranteed A. And I played this off for 24 hours. So the note there says, pay $5 or sign a promissory note, bring me the $5 tomorrow, and I'll give you a guaranteed A. Some students took advantage, some paid. So there was 3 students who actually paid, put money in the envelope. There was 17 students who said that they would pay, signed promissory notes, and 5 students who did not pay and were mad at me. They were livid. One even went as far as writing me a letter saying that me bribing him with $5, what a nice example I was. What I did was low and underhanded, and that it better be a joke. They were really hugely upset with me. The next day we started the lesson. I didn't tell them that it was fake still. And when I got to that point in the chapter that we were reading, light bulbs went off, and from there we had a discussion for about an hour that we reflected, and we made connections. And those students who did pay, they were the ones that went along with the church's policies. Those who didn't pay were the ones who wanted to break off. This was an awesome lesson, and I'm really glad that I was able to follow through with it. My mentor, super supportive. All the lessons that I did, when I'd post them on Class Dojo or talk to parents about them, she was extremely supportive. And for example, on this lesson, she commented that it was amazing and effective, that it was a lesson that not only was academic, but just a life lesson. And where I hope to be in the future, moving forward, I really want to make it a point to incorporate GLAD strategies. So I'm going to work this summer to build units around GLAD strategies. I also want to focus more on building community connections with parents, people who've been at this school for a long time. I see that they know parents and families and cousins, and I want to be at that point. And then pacing. I need to understand where I can ease off a little bit and where I can delve deeper, but to get through as much content as possible. And that's my presentation. Thank you all so much.